Does motivation exist? Do you need to be motivated to accomplish your goals, whether they be fitness, in your career, in relationships, or otherwise? Does motivation exist? Do you need it to accomplish your goals? Survey says no. If your mind is blown, stay tuned. You've probably heard people, whether it's me, other people on Instagram, different social media, your favorite YouTuber, talk about how you don't need to be motivated to accomplish your goals. However, I haven't seen too many people go into one, what is the answer then, if not motivation? And two, how do we get to that answer? How do we cultivate that? We're going to go into both of those in this podcast. How I got around to this was a client of mine, long-term client, who would start his check-in every single week saying motivation is a luxury. He had this quote at the top of his check-in every single week. And maybe like you, the first time I heard this, or read this rather, I was confused and I really didn't understand. But instead of asking him what he meant, I just kept staring at it every single week and allowed myself to kind of figure it out. And to me, what motivation is a luxury, quote unquote, means is that when we have it is a luxury. It's like all of us who have driven cars that barely worked. And then all of a sudden we had a car that worked. It was a luxury. It might be a luxury car, quote unquote, right? That's the difference. It was still getting you from point A to point B. It was just having this better car was a luxury. That's motivation. If you're still wondering what this even means, think about contexts outside of fitness that apply. If you are not motivated to go to work, do you still get there? Yeah. You still get there because you got to put a roof over your head. You got to pay for your food. You got to pay for whatever device you're listening to this on, right? If you have kids, you may not be motivated to take them to that play date or to take them to soccer practice or to take them to wherever they need to go, but you do it because your kids are important to you. We're proving that you can still get things done even when you aren't motivated. So in a fitness context, the next time you're thinking about going to the gym and you ask yourself, am I motivated? Remember that it isn't a thing. Motivation doesn't exist. If you have it, it's awesome. We've all had those moments where we're hyper motivated to go to the gym. You got those new kicks on, you got your new gym swag, you got your playlist all set, hyper motivated. It's a Friday, it's 5 o'clock. You don't have the nice kicks. You don't have the new gym apparel, the gym swag. You forgot your headphones and you might not go to the gym because you might argue that you're not motivated. However, you can still get to the gym. And if you're listening to this, I'm willing to bet that there have been days that you've been really hype, you've been really motivated and inspired to go to the gym. And there have been days when you haven't and you still got to the gym. So if those examples prove that motivation doesn't really matter and you can still accomplish those same goals, whether or not you're motivated, then what is the answer? What is the answer to that? The first part for me is taking action, and that action allowing you to see results, and that results for sure getting you motivated, getting you inspired to take more action. It is a virtuous cycle if there ever was one. If you imagine this as a circle, take action is at the top, the circle comes around to the right, you start to get results, the circle comes around on the bottom and points up to getting motivated, which points back around to taking action. So remember, the next time you're not feeling motivated and you're wondering what the answer is to accomplish the things that you're trying to get done, that first step needs to be taking action. And it can be action of any kind. I'm reminded of the door of Gold's Gym Mecca in Venice, one of, if not the most famous gym in the world. On the door, it says, making it here is half the battle. Let me remind you that this gym houses Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lou Ferrigno, The Rock trains there, 50 Cent, a ton of celebrities and athletes. Your favorite influencer has trained there. On the door, it says, getting here is half the battle. That really keyed me into even the best of the best have days where they don't want to be there. And just getting to the door, taking that action allows them to still see results, and that allows them to still stay motivated, stay inspired to take more action. That taking action step doesn't need to be going to the gym all the time. It could just be going out for a walk, taking some sort of action. It could be meal prepping, taking that action to ensure that you are able to execute on your macros every week, taking some sort of action that pushes you a little bit closer, even if it's just one step towards your goals. That's a main takeaway that I want you to have from this podcast, is that it's not being motivated. It's taking action that allows you to see results that for sure get you motivated to take more action. So that's the first answer in this two-part answer to why does motivation not exist? It doesn't exist because you can take action that allows you to see results and then allows you to stay motivated. Those results may not come right away, FYI. For those of you on a fitness journey, you know the first week, the first 2 weeks, you may not see that quantum leap that you're looking for, the hyper results that you're looking for. However, you keep taking that action, you keep taking those proverbial steps forward, and after a few weeks, a few months, a few years, all of a sudden, you do start to see the results. You may even feel the results. We have so many people here in DLG Nation, and you've probably heard them talk about it on a podcast where I've had them on. Those results, quote unquote, may not always be on the scale. They're those non-scale victories, or NSVs, that we talk about, from having more energy during the day, loving the skin that we're in, being a better person overall, being a better partner. Those are results that come from, surprise, surprise, eating really well, staying away from processed foods, having whole foods, having real foods, exercising, move your body, moving our bodies, getting good sleep, staying hydrated, all that good stuff. If you have a pet and you don't take, let's say, a dog, shout out to Kobe, our puppy. If you have a dog and you don't take them out for a walk, you don't exercise them, what are they? They're a terror, right? They may tear up your pillow and your sofa. They ate your shoes. However, if you take that dog on a walk and you exercise them a little bit, they're probably great, right? They just want to cuddle, hang out. If you feed them good food, or a little bit better food than the norm, all of a sudden, do they fart anymore? Are their farts stinky if they do fart? Do they have more energy? Same thing with staying hydrated, right? We are also animals on this planet. So if we remember that action step that we can take, can it be exercise? Can it be eating well? Can it be getting out in sunshine? Can it be getting out in nature? Can it be 10K steps every day? That step that allows you to get closer to that peak version of you that you're trying to get to, you're trying to ascend to, right? That's why we go on this fitness journey, to become a better person. I truly believe that a fitness journey is a self-love journey at the end of the day. So again, taking action gets results, gets you motivated to take more action. Second part of this two-part answer is, if motivation is not the answer, what is? To me, it's discipline. You may hear this a ton and wonder what it means. For me, the definition of discipline is delayed gratification. Doing those things now that we may not want to do to enjoy the fruits of our labor further down the road. It's getting up for that morning workout, even when you don't want to, even when you want to hit snooze, even when you want to put your head back down on the pillow. It's getting up for that morning workout, knowing that you're not only going to feel better after the workout and holding on to that feeling, but it's probably going to get you closer to your fitness, closer to your physique, closer to your overall health goals. Discipline is delayed gratification. Doing the things now, knowing that you'll be able to take advantage of it later down the road. They've actually studied this. I believe it's highlighted in Mindset, the amazing book by Carol Dweck. Researchers did study on kids. I think they were like 4 or 5. It was the marshmallow study. And they had sets of kids that they put a marshmallow in front of individually and told the kids, hey, I'm going to go outside this door for a sec, leave you alone. If you don't eat the marshmallow, I'm going to come back with another marshmallow. A lot of kids ate the marshmallow, as you can imagine. I probably would have eaten the marshmallow. But those kids that didn't eat the marshmallow and got that second marshmallow, researchers caught up with them in about a decade. They saw better scores across the board, whether it was academic or otherwise. Those kids who had really flexed their discipline muscle, because it is a muscle. We'll get to how to flex that, how to work that muscle and get better at working that muscle here in a sec. Those kids who flexed that muscle, who delayed gratification, ... they had better scores across the board. They were doing better, quote unquote, in life across the board down the road. So discipline is delayed gratification, doing what we know we need to do now in order to reap benefits down the road. Again, I haven't heard too many people talk about, well, then how do you cultivate discipline? Like, hey, Sean, I'm down for this. Motivation doesn't exist. Got it. I need discipline. Should I just stop here? No, I want to give you tips for cultivating discipline, because like I said, it is a muscle. And as you know, in the gym, when you are training a certain muscle group and you continue to do it over and over and over, what happens? You get stronger. You're able to lift heavier weight. You're able to lift for more reps. So discipline, very similarly, is a muscle that as you get more reps in of the discipline muscle, using the discipline muscle, you're going to be able to cultivate more discipline. It's going to get easier for you, I promise. So the first step, we're going to go through 6 steps. So if you're able to take notes, go for it. If you're in a car, just take some mental notes. Drive safely. Sidebar, how many people drive crazy because they're on their phone? Dayla and I are always on the road, and if we see a car kind of swerving in their lane, we pull it next side, they're on their phone. So please drive safely. The first step for cultivating more discipline is to connect with your why. Why are you doing the thing that you're doing? And so again, bringing it back to fitness, which is an amazing analogy for life. Your why might be you have a wedding in 6 months. It's the end of September when I'm recording this. Do you want to be able to go to the lake, to the beach, to some body of water in May or June next year and look and feel your best? That may be your why. For me and for so many others, it's avoiding the maladies that future generations had to bear. My grandparents, 2 out of 4 of them, had a really hard time at the end of life. And that was because they didn't really take care of themselves earlier in life. It's like one of my favorite Chinese proverbs, which is sweat more during peace, bleed less during war. Love that so much. I have it tattooed on me. Also a big fan of tattoos. How I understand that proverb in real world terms and what we're talking about right now is doing those things now, today, to avoid the issues that plagued previous generations in the future. That's my why. That may be your why as well, right? Doing those things now, working out, eating well, etc. So then in the future, I'm avoiding really high medical bills. I'm avoiding issues with mobility, things of that nature. Tap into your why. Why are you doing this? I had my friend Matt Ware on the show. You may have heard this episode previously. He played in 2 Super Bowls, so definitely go check that episode out if you haven't. He connected with his why as well. He offered it without me even talking about it, without me even being, hey, Matt, how do you stay disciplined? I did not ask any of those questions. He just simply answered a different question that I asked with, you got to tap into your why. And for him, as a retired NFL player with a family, his why is to be the healthiest, to be the best version of himself for his kids. That may also be your why. So to really tap into discipline, recommend tapping into your why, knowing your why. If you don't have your why, maybe doing a little bit of thinking about it, doing journaling about it, and really tapping into and connecting with your why. That will help you get out of bed in the morning, I promise. The second step to cultivating discipline is taking small steps. A quote that I love for this is short steps towards a long vision. Like I said, we're not going to see that quantum leap. However, can we take step after step after step and then look back and all of a sudden we have made that quantum leap? If you are a big outdoors person, if you like hiking, if you like those types of adventures, this may resonate with you. Have you ever looked at the top of the mountain and gone, oh my God, we have to go to the top of that mountain? Like, how are we going to do that? The answer is just taking one step at a time, putting one foot in front of the other. And all of a sudden, you're at the top of the mountain, right? And you turn back around. It's like, oh my God, I made it. However, when you were at the bottom of the mountain, it wasn't, oh man, I'm going to have to get a chairlift to get up to that thing. It wasn't, I'm going to have to jump 100 yards at a time just to get up to the top of the mountain. No, it was just putting one foot in front of the other, taking one step at a time. That is how to cultivate discipline. So in that example where you got to get up early in the morning, taking that first step out of bed, taking that first step into the gym. It doesn't need to be a mountain out of a molehill, right? Just taking one step at a time, short steps towards long vision. The third step for cultivating discipline is to write down your goals. You've probably heard me talk about on this podcast previously about how important and how impactful and how powerful it can be to write down your goals. People who write down their goals are 42% more likely to reach them. Let's just go ahead and round up to 50%. If you're listening to this, you've probably accomplished a lot of your goals already. And now I'm giving you a 50% increase on accomplishing future goals by simply writing them down. I've gone over it in previous podcasts. I will probably do a solo cast on the peak you, quote unquote, journaling exercise that I recommend to fitness and life coaching clients alike. I talk about it all the time, but this is a great one for not only being able to write down your goals, but how to get there. So if you're listening right now, and let's say your name is Susan, it would be the peak Susan journaling prompt. So you would write down who you want to be in the future. So again, bringing it to fitness, if you want to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, what are those steps that you need to take to get there? Writing them down. You're probably going to have to train 4 to 5 times a week, right? You're probably going to have to get 10K steps. You're probably going to have to hit your macros, staying hydrated, getting good sleep, writing all of those things down. And now you have a blueprint for how to get there. And now you can back into those goals. Writing things down is so powerful, and that can be very powerful for cultivating discipline as well. Last thing I'll say on writing down your goals, number 3 on our steps for cultivating discipline is to, I call this notes to self. I have Post-its around me that hype me up. I highly recommend that you put Post-its on your bathroom mirror, Post-its in your car, somewhere that you see every day that hypes you up and maybe reminds you of this goal. You're training your brain for what to look for, and it can be very, very helpful when trying to cultivate discipline. Step number 4 for cultivating discipline is not one that you would typically think about. It's scheduling breaks and actually rewarding yourself along the way. Again, rarely heard people talk about how to cultivate discipline. I don't think this is really on their lists, but there are studies to show that when we take regular breaks and when we do reward ourselves along the way towards a goal, we're actually going to get there. We don't burn out. How this may look, again, using fitness as the analogy, the proverbial analogy for life, this may be tracking macros straight for 2 weeks and then having a treat meal, having a meal that's maybe 200 to 250 calories over what you would typically eat in a day and enjoying it, right? And giving yourself that pat on the back, that proverbial pat on the back for all the hard work that you've done. If you've, let's say, trained 4 days a week for the past month, schedule a massage, schedule an off day outside, really reward yourself for all of that work that you're doing. We personally need those attaboys and attagirls. And let's be honest, not many people are going to give them to us in the real world. We don't really get that many attaboys and attagirls when we move out of our parents' house. We have to manufacture them ourselves. And so if you are working towards goals, try to think about ways to reward yourselves. Try to think about ways to take breaks. It may be the same thing in your career too, right? Working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You may be working on the weekends as well. What do? You take a trip, you schedule a vacation, you have some fun time off. We need those breaks, and we need to reward ourselves to continue to cultivate discipline in our lives. That's step number 4. Step number 5, I'm a big fan of not waiting for it to feel right, or not waiting for things to feel perfect, not waiting for the right time, because ... Does that time ever really come? Is there ever a perfect time? One might argue that 2020 was not the greatest time to do things. However, has life really gotten any less crazy since then? No. Life is always crazy. There's never going to be a perfect time for anything. So we have to take the reins of our lives from time to time and do the thing that we want to do, even if it doesn't feel right. Getting into the weeds scientifically with neurochemistry, neuroscience, our brains will tell us not to do the new things and to actually have that feeling of it's not going to be right, because our brain is a comfort-seeking device. Our body really desires comfort. It does not want to change. And so our brains are kind of sending us these incorrect signals of things not feeling right, quote unquote, because the body is like, skirt, you shouldn't be doing this. I don't want you doing this. It's getting out of your comfort zone. But that's the only way we improve. The only way we improve is getting out of our comfort zones, right? You may have heard this said in different ways. The obstacle is the way. Shout out to Ryan Holiday. The only path is through. If you've listened to my podcast, if you follow my content for the last few years, you know I went on a backpacking trip in 2021 in January, the first that I've ever gone on. I'd never really camped growing up. The only camping I had done was once in college, literally sleeping next to my car at a campsite. And this one was off the grid. 7 days off the grid, 35 miles total in West Texas. Got up to 8,000 feet. For those of you who think Texas is really, really flat, it is not. There are parts that have big mountains, obviously. And that first day with 60 pounds on my back and it literally snow flurrying, I was like, how the hell am I going to make it up this mountain? And I really can't turn around because what am I going to do? Ask my friends, the 9 people I was with, like, hey guys, could I get the keys to the car? And I'm just going to camp out for the next week. I'll wait for you. No, the only path is through. I was also having a very, in my opinion, profound conversation with one of my best friends recently about surfing, because I grew up in Los Angeles, very grateful that I grew up near the water. And anyone who's been in the ocean, when you see a big wave start to build, there's 2 thoughts in your head, right? It's either I can go towards the wave or run away from the wave or try to swim away from the wave. Even if you've had a fun vacation out in the water and you don't typically get in the ocean, when that happens and you try to go away from the wave, it never works. You're working against the current is pushing against you, and the wave just keeps building, building, building. Second, right? Instead, if you go towards the wave, you can either get under it, you can get over it. You might be even able to ride it and catch that wave. I think it's an amazing analogy for life of going with the flow, because when a big wave is coming, the water is going towards the wave, and you need to go towards the wave and with the flow of water to get through. And what's really cool is sometimes you can catch that wave. It's doing the hard things, going towards the hard things, and then sometimes you're able to ride the wave, really take advantage of it. So that's bringing it back around. Step number 5 to cultivating more discipline is not waiting for it to feel right, because life's never going to feel right. Please go towards the challenge in your life. It's that phrase that's often thrown around: hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. That's kind of what we're getting out here with number 5. And then rounding out the 6 steps for cultivating more discipline in your life, the 6th step is forgiveness. Forgive yourself for mistakes and move on. Move forward. Because we're human. You're human. I'm human. We are living this human experience. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to screw up. It's okay. If you're on a fitness journey and you've trained 4 days per week for the last month, 2 months, 3 months, and you miss a lift, you miss a workout day, that's okay. Be kind to yourself. Forgive yourself. You've been tracking your macros ardently for weeks or months, and then all of a sudden it's your birthday and you have a little bit more cake than you'd like to have. It's all good. Even if it's not your birthday, because on your birthday, I want you to enjoy that piece of cake and really enjoy it and own it. But in those moments where maybe it's a fun weekend, you're out at night, you're having a few drinks, and you have that slice or 2 or 3 of pizza before going to bed, when you wake up the next day, don't beat yourself up. Forgive yourself for those mistakes. If anything, do an audit of how to learn from it and then move on. That's a big one that, again, not many people talk about, whether it's cultivating discipline or otherwise. Really, just in life, if you're trying to move forward, this is kind of outside the discipline motivation conversation. If you're trying to achieve lofty goals, if you're treating everybody with love and respect, compassion, and you're trying to move forward and reach your goals to the best of your ability, you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Forgive yourself. We're all human. So that's that last tip, the 6 steps, and I'll go through them again, for cultivating more discipline, is forgiving ourselves for those mistakes, being kind to ourselves. Now, I'm not saying give yourself a pass. That's not saying, let's say, like 1 out of 10 times you actually do what you're supposed to do, and you're like, oh, that's fine. Like Sean said, to forgive myself, I'm good not doing the 9 out of 10 things. I'm just going to do this one thing. That's not really what I'm getting at. If you're doing the 9 things out of 10 and you miss that 10th, or you're doing 8 out of 10 and you miss those 2 out of 10, it's all good. You're human. Learn from it, because as Big Sean says, as I try to pull profound meaning out of rap lyrics, there are no mistakes in life, only lessons. Kobe Bryant talks about it as well. He said that failure is a figment of our imagination, because he said, okay, you fail on Monday. What do? You just stop on Tuesday? He said, no, you learn from that failure and you get better and you start again. So what is failure? What are these mistakes? So forgive yourself for that. I think we're incorrectly, and this is me on my soapbox, we're incorrectly taught that making mistakes is bad and we avoid making the mistakes. Yes, I do think there's a certain truth to that. You don't want to go into things wanting to make the mistakes and doing the thing that's wrong. However, if you're trying to better yourself, like I said, you're trying to improve and you make a mistake, you're probably going to learn from it and you're probably going to get better. You're probably going to improve. To recap the 6 steps for cultivating more discipline in your life, the first one is really reconnecting with your why, or connecting for the first time with your why. Why are you doing the thing that you're doing? Why are you doing the thing to reach your goal? Why even the goal? Really connect with your why. Step number 2 is taking small steps, short steps towards a long vision. Don't worry about taking these monumental strides. Just take one step after the other, put one foot in front of the other. Step 3 for cultivating more discipline is to write down your goals. I could wax philosophically about this, and I have in previous podcasts. Definitely check those out. Number 4 is scheduling breaks. Reward yourself from time to time. Step 5 is not waiting for it to feel right. One of my favorites, because if you want to do the opposite of that, if you want to never reach your goals, wait till it feels right. Also, for romantic relationships, how many people in their lives, me included, waited for the perfect time to ask somebody out or have that conversation? And then if you always waited, it's never going to happen, versus muscling through life and getting closer to your goals regardless, right? So number 5 is not waiting for it to feel right. And number 6, rounding out the 6 steps for cultivating more discipline in our lives, is forgiveness for our mistakes and moving forward. Mistakes are lessons. To round out the episode, to finish things off, I wanted to read a few quotes about discipline. And yes, if you're asking, where'd you get these quotes, Sean? The answer is from my book, Hack Your Health, shameless plug. It's still available on Amazon. I'll have a link in the show notes. Appreciate everybody who supported it. Go out and get Hack Your Health. These quotes on discipline, I wanted to share these because I wanted you to hear them from more than just me. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. That's Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn said, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. All success begins with self-discipline. It starts with you. That's from The Rock. We all love The Rock. He's a great one for 4 a.m. workouts. If you need motivation, quote unquote, The Rock will help you out. Winners embrace hard work. They love the discipline of it, the trade-off they're making to win. That's from Lou Holtz. He won a national championship with Notre Dame football team. Discipline is the soul of an army. That's from George Washington. Shout out to the forefathers. A disciplined mind leads to happiness, and an undisciplined mind leads to suffering. That's a good one. A disciplined mind leads to happiness, and an undisciplined mind leads to suffering. That's from the Dalai Lama. And finally, with self-discipline, most anything is possible. That's from Theodore Teddy Roosevelt. With discipline, most anything is possible. I want you to remember that as we finish up this episode. If this impacted you in positive ways, if your mind is blown, if all of a sudden you now know the answer to, is motivation a thing? Does it exist? Tag me on Instagram. Let me know which steps out of the 6 that we talked about you are going to utilize to cultivate more discipline in your life. Tag the Shots to the Dome podcast. Please share this episode if you found it helpful. We're trying to change the world, fam. I know you are too. And we do that one step at a time. Really appreciate it. This has been how to cultivate more discipline. This has been, is motivation a thing? Does it exist? And I hope you've gotten a lot of value from it.